Hello again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode we shall be casting our ever critical eye over another 10th edition datasheet. And once more we shall be delving into the shadowy world of allies. Now in the past when we've looked at things like Inquisitors, they tend to have been fun units that have been good in a niche role, such as Inquisitor Courtiers helping you out with your combat guard. But today we have a genuinely competitive allied unit, and one that you seriously want to consider for almost any Imperium or Guard competitive list. Clad in black leather as dark as the night and equipped with exotic weaponry, today's unit leaves anarchy wherever it goes. I am of course talking about the Callidus assassin. And so without further ado, let's polymorphine into one of our enemies and infiltrate our way into today's episode. As is tradition, let us begin with a brief overview of what this unit actually is. And we'll start off by going over the stat line. The Callidus has a 7-inch movement, which is higher than the typical foot slogger you will find in most armies. And it might only seem like 1 extra inch, but hey, every inch matters. Also in Warhammer 40k it makes a difference because every inch allows you to be more maneuverable, and movement wins games. There will be times when being able to move 7 inches will get your tippy toe onto an objective so you can hold it. It will allow you to just get over the line so you can get engaged in all fronts, or maybe it will allow you to just be able to get that charge off in the subsequent charge phase. You can't go wrong with being more maneuverable and having an extra inch. Defensively, the Callidus may seem like it's all over the place at first. It has a toughness of 4 with 4 wounds, but then only a 6+ save. Well, that's kind of weird. The thing is, you're never really going to use that 6+ save because it has a 4+ invulnerable save. So really, this thing is 4s across the board. It's toughness 4, 4 wounds, 4 invuln. This makes it somewhat durable, but even a decent burst of lasgun fire is just going to overwhelm that 4+ save. So don't think that you could be tanking battle cannon shells on this. Sometimes it'll spike. I often say that 4+ save rarely feels like a 50-50. Sometimes you'll have games where you can just keep rolling those 4+ and you're an unstoppable juggernaut, and then sometimes you will just die to like 4 grot blasters. So the 4+ allows you to be somewhat durable, but I wouldn't rely on it because it is a very fickle save and you haven't got that many wounds to start tanking stuff. But a leadership of 6+ means that you are a little bit more insulated against battle shock, and OC of 1 is nice. You sometimes find with these specialist units they're OC 0, but having an OC of 1 means that you're not going to out-control a battle line unit, but you will be able to do something on the objective front. But if I'm being honest, the defensive stat line of the Callidus is the least exciting part. Where things start getting spicy is in the weapons and war gear.
Attention guardsmen, the Commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Each one of these assassins comes equipped with a neural shredder and phase sword and poison blades. That might sound like 3 weapons, it's actually only 2. You've got 1 range weapon and you've got 1 melee weapon. The neural shredder has a 12-inch range. It fires D6 shots at strength 5, AP -2, damage 1. But it automatically hits because of the torrent special rule, and it's anti-infantry 2+, and it's precision. So if you are lucky and you get a good burst off with this thing, you might be able to shred some mid-level characters. I would say if you're a guard commander or you've got a character that's sort of equivalent to a platoon officer, the Callidus is definitely a threat, even against things like your Cajun Castellans, who typically have got like 4 wounds, or you've got your Deathcore Marshals. if you're not careful, the Callidus will be able to drop down, get a big roll, get the hits, obviously, get the wounds on a 2+, and you're going to get turned into sludge, essentially. Your brain is going to leak out of your ears. However, it is important to note that you still need line of sight for precision. So not always is that going to pop off. If someone has their character at the back of a unit and it's behind one side of the wall and the rest of the unit sort of spilling out the front of the wall, you wouldn't be able to use precision because you can't see the character. Likewise, I have personally used things like Rogel Dawns and Lehman Russes, which are very large units, as essentially a moving line of sight blocker to protect me against these precision weapons. Overall, it's a decent ranged weapon, but there are some counters to it and you might get unlucky with it. Where I feel the Callidus is really tasty is in the melee weapon department with phase sword and poison blades. Now, like I said, this is one weapon, it's a combined profile. It has lethal hits and precision. So lethal hits means that if you get a 6 to hit, it will automatically wound. And again, precision will allow you to pick characters out of units. Little side note on precision. The whole line of sight thing still is true in combat. So again, if that character's hidden behind the wall and you're attacking the guys in the front who are on the other side, you won't be able to precision the enemy character. A bit of a quirk about it, which is kind of cool. But also, precision, a big mistake some people make about it is it doesn't allow you to pick the model that you kill. It doesn't allow you to pick special weapons or sergeants out. It only allows you to either target the normal bodyguard unit or the character. But anyway, getting back to the phase sword. It has 5 attacks at weapon skill 2+, so statistically you should hit every single time. And it's strength 5, AP -4. Oh, nice. And 2 damage. Unless the character has an invulnerable save, it's going to be in big trouble when the Callidus comes after it. I feel like the Neural Shredder softens them up, and then the phase sword goes in and finishes off any characters you want to get rid of. But in reality, you don't just have to think of the Callidus as going after characters. That's a decent profile for a lot of units. The Neural Shredder phase sword combo will allow you to put the pain onto things like units of 5-man intercessors, and more than likely, if you get the drop on them, get the charge off, you'll probably wipe that 5-man unit out. So it's a great way of not just like assassinating characters, but also as a scalpel carving away part of your enemy's army. 5 intercessors, although equivalent, may not seem like a big deal, but when you take into account the fact that that might be a little unit holding an objective out of line of sight, that might be something that is your opponent wants to use for a secondary in a later turn. Maybe they want to investigate signals with it. Maybe they want to get it for engage. It allows you to have that ability to just carve away a small unit reliably and really scupper your opponent's plans. But I know what you're thinking. Mordian, this all seems very interesting, and I will admit the Callidus looks okay, but what makes us so competitive? Why are so many people including this unit in their list, and why should I care about it as a guard player? Well, to answer that question, we need to look at the abilities. The Callidus, as its core abilities, has Deep Strike, Fights First, Infiltrate, and Lone Operative. Now, Fights First is nice, means that if someone charges you, you'll get to stick them in the eye first. And Infiltrators is alright as well. It's okay, sometimes that can be very helpful to maybe push back someone's scout units or to get you an early objective. Something that's always nice and something that guard can struggle with unless you're taking a lot of your own scout infantry, which again can then be countered by the enemy's infiltrators. A number of times I've had, I believe, Von Ryan's Leapers stop me from scouting on objective. So frustrating. So having your own infiltrators is okay, but really the biggie here is that Deep Strike Lone Operative combo. The fact that you can drop in to an area and not be targeted unless your opponent gets in your business. But where this goes from spicy to a Vindaloo and crying on the toilet the morning after is when we combine these core abilities with one of the unique ones of the Callidus, Polymorphine. At the end of your opponent's turn, if this model is not within engagement range of any enemy units, you can remove it from the battlefield, and then in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, set it up anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from all enemy models. If the battle ends and this model is not on the battlefield, it is destroyed. That's right. At the end of your opponent's turn, if they haven't killed the Callidus, you can pick her up, and then straight away going into your turn in the reinforced movement phase, you can just plop her down. As long as she's 9 inches away, no problemo. Now bear in mind that you have lone operative. It can actually be very difficult for your opponent to kill the Callidus. So she's going to be going up and coming back down constantly throughout the battle. And this is absolutely the principal way you want to be using the Callidus. Not to be popping up and down to be killing stuff, but to be popping up and down to score points. One thing that can be an absolute nightmare for the guard is you're playing your game, you draw on your objectives turn 1, and you get behind enemy lines. You get deployed teleport to Homer, and you think, can't bring my Cyclopses in yet, or my Scions, because it's turn 1, I can't deep strike them in. And the only way I could get it in the middle of the board, which is less points, only 3 points out of 5, is to like push a unit forward. But then that unit's just going to die. Absolute nightmare scenario. And one that happens with lots of other objectives and has occurred with myself multiple times at tournaments. If I'd had a Callidus, this wouldn't have been an issue, because I would have been like, okay, no dramas. I will be able to pick the unit up and just pop them down. Obviously, I can't do that turn 1, but I know that I can get that turn 2. I know that my opponent is really going to struggle to screen me out because it's one model. It's one like 32mm base. Your opponent is going to have to screen out their deployment zone to such a degree that if they do that, they're probably spreading themselves really thin and maybe giving up one of their best advantages, which is force concentration. And then you're playing into the guard play, but we want you to spread out. And that's presuming, by the way, if you go first, because if your opponent goes first, then of course you can pick the cards up at the end of their turn, go into your turn 1, draw your tactical cards, and be like, oh, I've got behind enemy lines, I've got deployed teleport at home, and no issues whatsoever. I'll just drop in turn 1, no dramas, and I'll be able to get those objectives. But I know right now there are going to be some guard players furiously typing away in the comments section going, but Mordian, why would I ever take a Callidus over Gaunt's Ghost? You see, Gaunt's Ghost can do pretty much the same thing. They can pop up and pop down, and they bring decent firepower, half decent combat. They've got stealth as well as lone operative, and they also can do orders, which can be very useful for units that are coming from reinforcements. Absolutely. Those are all very, very, very good things that Gaunt's Ghost can do. But there are also 2 slight problems with Gaunt's Ghost. Firstly, they are 10 points cheaper than a Callidus. Might not seem like a lot, but you want to squeeze every point you can get. And 10 points might just be the difference between getting another unit in your army or upgrading from something like Cadians to Deathcore. But the 10 points is really like a side point. The main thing is the size difference in the units. Gaunt's Ghosts is 6 32mm bases. Now that is very possible for your opponent to screen out from turn 1. But one 32mm base is a lot harder. And as I said before, it can cause your opponent to play right into your hand if they do try and stop the Callidus. So when it comes to deciding between Gaunt's Ghosts and the Callidus Assassin, you kind of have to look at the bigger picture. Are you taking an army that is going to be relying on reinforcements coming in, big blobs of guardsmen coming back, and you want to get orders for those guardsmen? Then Gaunt's Ghost is a really, really good choice. But if you're not running that kind of army, maybe you're going down a elite force, maybe you're going down a mechanized army, well, go for the Callidus in that case. You'll save yourself 10 points, and at the same time, you'll have a unit which will be able to sneak into those tight gaps. Oh, and one more thing, for the sake of completeness, I probably should also mention that the Callidus has the Reign of Confusion unique ability too, which is very much like Kurov's Aquila. Once per battle, after your opponent uses a stratagem, this model can use ability. If it does, until the end of the battle, the CP cost of your opponent must pay to use that stratagem again is increased by 1 command point. Now, as per one of the recent FAQs, you can't use that on any stratagem anymore. You can only use it on battle tactic stratagems. So typically that is like the CP reroll, which is a big one. Making CP rerolls go from 1 to 2 can be game changing. But also you'll find that every army does tend to have at least one good battle tactic. For example, in the Guard, we have Fields of Fire, which is already 2. If you put that up to 3, it's like prohibitively expensive. And that's a really good stratagem for us. It gives us extra AP, we can stack it, and it's a big force multiplier. So in summary, the Callidus comes with a decent stat line and some interesting weapons and war gear, but you don't really want to think about her in terms of damage. Where she does her work is in scoring secondaries that can normally be very difficult to achieve. At the end of the day, she scores points, and points mean prizes. Of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Are you someone that takes the Callidus Assassin? Is there anything about her that I've missed? Also, speaking to the Guard players here, would you take Gaunt's Ghost or would you go for the Callidus? Which one are you likely to put in your list? If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Wolf, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.